you can see here I started looking at some different ideas, getting it from different styles. You can see there's a lot of line icons, more illustrative icons, and then more stylistic view, which is pretty awesome. Love that type of cool stuff. And then you got the flat design, which is awesome. So, you know, you can just type in camping in Pinterest and you'll most likely get some ideas. So look, you can see this camp checklist. That's pretty sweet. Got some pots and pans and that type of stuff. But I don't know if a lot of people actually camp. I don't do it that often, but like, you know, the basics, you got the tents, you got the chairs and all that cool stuff. But, you know, you can find out some ideas from looking it up. We'll try hiking as well. And just by simply typing in, you know, some words in Pinterest, you can get some cool ideas. You can get the kind of feel of what type of the bags people use, what are the equipment. Like here you can see, you know, the water bottles, the sleeping bags, jackets. Like you can create so many cool icons that are going to resonate with people in this type of field, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, get some inspiration, go read some books, go read some, you know, outdoor books, and you'll get some cool inspiration there. The first thing I do when I start doing some sketches for icons, I start writing out some words that represent camping, like trees, wood, fire, you know, lantern, sleeping bag, anything that relates to that, and something that's going to help you create some cool icons. The first thing I do is draw a grid. So just draw a square box, try and keep it pretty consistent with the lines, and you can just draw a line in the center and in the middle of it. This will really help you, you know, figure out what type of icon you're going to create and the layout or the sizing, how you're going to do it. So you can see I'm just starting to do some sketches, start drawing out using that grid. Just keep it simple. It can be a 4x4 grid, and I'm just starting to draw some icons. You can see I can draw a tent there, which is pretty sweet. And then as I go along, you know, I started just doing simple sketches. It's just to get the flow in the creative flow state and really just think of things to draw and things that you want to create in your icon set. You know, you can create so many icons, but it's good to make it, you know, cohesive and make sure that each part resonates with each other and not just have just random stuff in there. You know, if you're going to have a theme, try and keep it around a certain theme. So once you've done some sketches, we're going to jump into Illustrator now. So first up, just go to File, New, create a new document, and I'm just going to use this sizes here, and I'm just going to call it Camping Icons. You can leave it on points. We won't worry about too much about being pixel perfect. We're just going to focus on, you know, concepting and creating some cool icons. And then you can leave it on CMYK, it's fine. And then we're going to press create. So you can see we've got our artboard here. And what we're going to do is going to find a few reference images. So we're going to go to Google or Pinterest, and we're going to go tent. And the good thing about finding reference images is that it's going to help you visualize things. So, okay, this looks like a cool idea. So you can just right click, copy, and then paste that in. So that's pretty cool. Maybe a lantern as well. Yeah, this one looks pretty cool. And just reference images helps you, you know, have a point of reference so you can see the shape, you know, see the idea, the overall outline, and just get some ideas. What else we take to camping? A sleeping bag. And we're just using it for some inspiration. And then I'll do a that one looks pretty sweet. Post that. So now we've got 4 reference images. You can find more if you want to do more icons, but we'll just start off with this and then we can build it as we go. So once we've got these icons, these images, we're just gonna put off to the side here. And what I like to do when I'm working with icons, I like to use a box. So press M for the rectangle tool. You can see on the left here, I'm just gonna right click that. You can get your shape tools. So when I'm doing icons, I usually use the shape tools. So you got the rectangle tool, the rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon, and even the star. So you can really use those. You can also use your line tools as well. So if you've got a line tool here, which is pretty sweet. And also you can use the pen tool. So you press P for the pen tool, and you can just click and you can create strokes and paths with that. So those are the main tools we use when I'm creating icons, which is pretty sweet. So first off, I'm gonna create some colors here. I'm just gonna go to my swatch panel, gonna select it and go select all unused, and then press this little bin here and delete selection, just because I don't like to have too many colors there. And I'm gonna go for we'll work with like a navy, like a dark navy color, and I'm gonna add that. So press this little button in the bottom there, and you can actually create it. You can go call it navy if you want, and we're gonna go click on global, press OK. So now I've got that color, and it's looking a bit too blue. So if I can double click on it, and because it's a global color, when you edit it, it's gonna affect it. So you press preview and see you can actually edit it, which is pretty sweet. It's too blue, so I'm gonna make it a bit more. Okay. Sweet, and then I'll click on that and then press the little button on the bottom right there. We're gonna make a copy of it, but we'll just do a lighter version of that color. So we just made a lighter version of it, and I'm just gonna make a box, pressing M for the rectangle tool, and we're just gonna make this lighter. Click on color and then just drop this. So you can drop it down if you want to add a bit of a tint of color, or you can go to color guide as well, and you can go to window and go to color guide and swatches if you don't know how to open those, and that will keep these open. So you can also go to color guide and pick, you know, triad or compound or monochromatic or whatever, and you can find them and, you know, pick shades if you want instead of working on a white background. So I'll just leave that for now, and we'll just keep it on white. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a box. We'll just make it 200 by 200. Actually, we'll just do 100 by. We'll do 150 by 150. So we're gonna use this, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select it and hold Alt and Shift, or if you're on a Mac, it's gonna be Option and Shift. Drag that across, and then I'm gonna press Control D and Control D again, and it's gonna duplicate it. So we're just gonna use these 4 boxes, and the reason why we're gonna use a box as an outline is because you don't want the icons to be too distorted. You want them to be, you know, consistent, and you want them to look alike. So we use the boundary box as, you know, a limit. So we put it within the box so it's not hanging out, and the icons are gonna look, you know, nice and smooth together. So we're just gonna use these boxes, and then I'm gonna just make it white, but I'll just make it a little bit gray so we can see that. So you can see I just added a bit of gray, and then what we're gonna do is we're going to make a new layer. So go to your layers panel. You can also go to window layers, and then just click on the new document there, and we'll go design, and we'll just put this, and then we'll just call it box, and we're just gonna lock that layer, and we're gonna work on off this layer. So that's one way to lock them, because we don't want to, you know, if you start doing your icons, you don't want it to be selected on the bottom one. So that's how we did that. So now I'm gonna select our, you know, navy color. We're gonna start building out. So we'll first start with this tent. I kind of like, you know, the nice big thick pole in the middle. And another good box to come up is use your stroke panel. So go to window and click stroke, and usually I use a 2 weight point weight, or sometimes you can do thicker if you want. I'm just gonna start building this. So you want to make sure your smart guides are on. You can see there's a purple line, that's smart guides. You can press Control U or Command U, or go down to View and then click Control U here, which is pretty sweet. So now when we fire out the heck. So now when we go onto the box, you can see, you know, the middle point of the box. I'm just gonna click on these corners, and then make sure there's no fill. And I like to have rounded corners, so I click on the middle bars. If you're on the cap in the corner, you can see you pick on the middle, and that's a round cap joint and the round mid joint for the corners, so you can see that's joint. Don't worry if it goes over the box, that's okay. It's gonna be fine. So now we're just gonna start building this out. using the pen tool. I'm just going to do this. You can play around with different stroke weights, so you can see, or you can keep it all consistent, which might look better. And I might make this smaller. There's no limits. You can, play around with it, make it look fine. And you can select this, and if you go to your transform panel, you can also go to window transform to open that, just down there. And you can see mine's on the right here. And if you select a path or a shape, you can click on this little drop down menu and go flip horizontal or flip vertical. And what's it going to do, it's going to flip it just like that, and then you can drag it on the other side. First, you want to make sure you do a copy as well before doing that. So Control C, Control F. So you can see I made a copy. And then we'll go back and do it again. And boom, just clicks in. You see the smart guides just like that. So it clicks in. So now it looks like we have like this flap here, and it's like a bigger tent, which I kind of like. And then we can, move this down if you want. And then I'm just using the direct selection tool by pressing A and then selecting the point, and then just dragging those in, just like that. So cool. We've already started to build a tent out, and we can do some iterations of that later on. But well, this is a good start. And now we're going to start building some other items. So we're going to start with a lantern, and always go back to the references if you're stuck, or you don't know what to do or how to build the shapes. That will always help you. So I'm just using the rectangle tool here. You can see if you're not sure of the center, it'll tell you the center. It'll tell you there. So that's why smart guides are awesome to use. It's too thick. You want to make sure all the stroke is the same size. So sometimes when you're using these shapes, you can see how it's different. Or when you scale it, it will change it. This is because when you go to transform, you can see it says scale strokes and effects. So this is a cool tip. When you have your transform panel, when you select an object or a path, you want to tick this off if you want. And what it's going to do, it's going to keep the point weight the same. So you can see if I keep it on 2 points and I scale it, it's not going to up the stroke width. It's going to keep it at that same stroke width. So if I go really small, it's going to keep the same stroke width. So just keep that in mind when you're working with this. You can also just turn it on, and actually just, if I scale it up now, you can see how it buffs it up. That's what scaling strokes does. But you can always go back and just bump it down to the one you want, which is, I'm working with 4 point at the moment. So we've got that. And then you can always just fix it up. It's pretty sweet. Cool thing about doing icons is that you can play around with so many different colors and effects. You can use just simple shapes, and it doesn't take too long. I'm just rounding this corner off. You can see that if you're in CC, you'll get these little points, and if you just press the direct selection tool, and then if you click and drag the little button there, the white dot, you can actually round it off like that, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to round it off because the lantern has like a glass bit, so that's pretty sweet. I'm just holding Alt when you see I'm dragging those boxes out. So when you hold Alt, it actually keeps the proportion. And if you hold Alt and Shift, it keeps the proportion even stricter. So like it keeps it to a 90-degree angle, 40-degree angle. Also, when you rotate, you can hold Shift and it's gonna rotate it like that. Really nice. So always keep that in mind when you're doing the shapes. It makes it just easier instead of just dragging it out and trying to get it, you know, perfect, because it won't end up being perfect. So you can just select it all and then keep the stroke one width so it starts to look normal. Then I'm going to use that. And then you can just press A for the direct selection tool, or it's up there in the left corner. It's the white one. V is for the just normal selection tool. So I'm going to press A again, select the 2 anchor points at the top here, and then just drag these in, and then boom, you got like this half ellipse, which is pretty sweet. And then I'm going to make the point there. Just like that. So we got this weird looking lantern. I might actually get rid of this. Actually, we'll make it, bump it down, make it smaller. And then you can see if we don't want this lines in the background, you can just select these shapes. You can always go back and edit it later, but you're just going to fill it with a white. And then bring it to the front. So press Control Shift right square bracket, and that's going to bring it to the front. And if you do the opposite, left square bracket, it's going to bring it to the back. So that's a good thing. You can just add a fill, and we can play around with those later. So, you know, we've got a cool little lantern. I guess it sort of looks like a lantern. You can also use the eyedropper tool as well. I'm just going to edit this, and you can select the stroke, and what it does is copies it. So even if you have a stroke with a different color or whatever, you can actually press I for the eyedropper tool and select that, and it's going to copy that color and that stroke width, which is an awesome tool as well. I love doing that. I might just copy this one up and just make it a bit, actually, yeah, that looks pretty cool. So you can see I'm just copying shapes over and over again and then lining it up. Another cool thing is if you press Control Y or Command Y, you can go into outline mode. You can also go View and then outline mode as well. Where is it? Yeah, so this is outline mode. Which means, so you can also go to view and outline mode, and what it does is it allows you to see all the strokes, which is pretty sweet. So you can see a bird's eye view of where all the paths are. So you can always line it up. You can see how I've lined this up, so I know it's, you know, perfect on that stroke. And that's why guides are important. So you can see you can drag that back out. If you select the 2 points again and drag the circle, you can see it's rounded corners. So you can make it straight again. I'm not liking this. It's looking funny. You can also use the Pathfinder tool. You can see how I did that. I've got a shortcut on F2, but you can also go to Pathfinder and you can select this and go Unite. This first button is Unite. So there's other shape building tools here as well, which is pretty sweet. So I can unite that, and maybe I want to round this off like that, which might be handy, but kind of not liking that. So I guess I'm just going to leave that for now. I'll just make this a bit thicker. And we'll just leave that. Yeah, that looks fine. Let's got our lantern there. Actually, I'm not gonna add a flame. So, oh. Always using the center point as a reference. I'm just using the pen tool now. Selecting it. I'm going to press O for the reflect tool. Find my mouse on that anchor point. And then hold Option or Alt. And then you get the reflect tool up just like this. Press preview, and we're going to do vertical. You can see you can select horizontal as well, but vertical is fine. And we're just going to press copy. So now I made a copy. Select them both and go to the Pathfinder tool again on the right and select that. So now we have a flame here. Just gonna bump that up. So we're just gonna make sure all these are the same weight. Just like that. Yeah, sweet. So I've got that. And yeah. So we're going to move on. We'll do a sleeping bag now. So I press M for the rectangle tool. I'm going to find the center out, and it's going to build this out. You can see this shape has a fill. I'm just going to get rid of that by pressing the /, and that gets rid of the fills. You can see here, the shortcut is there. You can press that button to get rid of it. And usually a sleeping bag has like a flap. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to make a box, rectangle again. Just drag out. We'll try and find the center. And then you can use the pen tool, press P, and then select, click, and then click on that anchor there. So now you can see you've got this little flap thing. And maybe we want to make sure like there's patterns in there, or maybe there's a seam, you know, there's an inside seam or stitching. We can just add a box. And then we're going to bring it to the back. And then once again, we can add a fill to this. And then you can bring it back, bring it to the front. We can also double click on a shape, and we can actually just delete these. Just like that. So that's another way to do that. And then go to outline mode again, and we'll bring it to the front. Like that. So maybe like there's a pillow in there, or there's like a seam in there. You can also go in and add a stroke dash. So I'll just make this one weight. And then maybe if you want to make it smaller, you can actually do a dash line. So if you go to stroke, you'll see this dash line. Click that box. And you can actually do a dash. Maybe we want to make it smaller. So that's another way you can do to add some detail to the bag. Sometimes it might not look right. So yeah, that's another way to create some cool, you know, stitching elements. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some embellishments. So use other strokes as a guide. I can delete that, and so we know the spacing's right. So you can see smart guides, it clicks into place. So all this spacing would be the same as you can see there. I can bring that to the back. And then you'll see that's that. Maybe I want to make a... I was thinking of adding like a little bit, but that's fine. Might round off these corners. As you can see, this sleeping bag has like a round corner like that. It even has an opening, which is pretty cool, but I'm just gonna leave it on this. The reference images is just for like some inspiration or help, just so you get the overall picture of, you know, the icon or image you're trying to create. Okay, sweet. So we've got that sleeping bag, got a tent, lantern, and we'll just do this bag. I really like this bag, the look of it. It's got some nice stitching. I like the color too. It's pretty sweet. Got some cool zippers. So, and for the rectangle tool again. So really, you can see it's pretty easy. Just, you know, using circles, using squares, triangles, really basic stuff. And you can see how it's looking consistent with when you're putting it within the box. So that's awesome. Might add some stuff on the side. Maybe there's like an extra pocket. These camping bags are pretty thick, especially if you're going hiking. They go bring tents and stuff. So I'm just gonna use that as a reference. I'm gonna add a fill to this so we can bring it to the front. We'll add another. Maybe we can add that for the zipper. Another thing I like to do as well to add some depth, because I'm using a 4-point stroke, if you're doing like thin strokes, just like half it. So you can see here, maybe I'm just gonna put 2-point, just to add some depth. It's also good to do that when you're like working with characters or that type of stuff as well. Adds a bit of depth. So maybe you can pretend there's like two zippers there, and then maybe we can add a dashed line. And that. Pretty cool. Or we can actually, I'm actually going to add a strap. So we can actually do a strap instead. Some feels. So instead of the zipper, we'll just do a strap. like that goes all the way down. Maybe we have like a pocket. Press the P tool and I'm going to click on this little path here. Just drag this out like that, and it looks like we have a pocket. Drag on the other side as well. So maybe they hide some snacks in there or something like that. So we've got that done. Sweet. Cool. So we've just created 4, cohesive icons. I think they're consistent, they're looking fun. You can even color them, and we're probably going to do that next. So you can, if you like icons just like this, you can keep them like this, but we're going to transform them, and we're going to, give it some life and color. So from now, after we've done our main icons, I'm just gonna make a new layer, and then I'm gonna call it color, and we're gonna start adding colors to this. So I'm gonna go to color hunt, and what we're gonna do is find some color palettes that we can use. You can even go on Pinterest, and you can see that I found some other camping icons, but what I usually do is you can even type camping landscape, and you can draw some colors from here. So if you get this, you can get some oranges and dark blues, or even here you'll get some different colors, greens. And sometimes I just copy a picture, copy and paste, and I'll just draw colors from that. So maybe find a good example if you can. So I'll just pick this one, and I'll just copy and paste that in. So after we've done our set of little icons here, just strokes, we're going to find some color palettes now. So you can go on Pinterest and get some images and maybe draw some colors from there, or you can go Adobe Color or even Color Hunt I like using. So what I like to do, just go through here, find some color palettes we can use. That one's pretty cool. And we can actually, I'll use this one, it's got some nice greens here. So you just select it, and you can just copy paste the hex code in. So if you go on our swatches panel, double click the color, you'll get this box pop up, and you'll see you can implant the hex code here. Press Control V or Command V, and we're just going to copy that in. And now you've got that color in your swatches panel. Now we can just press New Swatch and Global Color, press OK, and we're going to have that there now. And I'm just going to drag it into this new group here. So click and drag it, and it's going to be on that group. And I'll do the same for the rest of these colors real quick. And there's so many different color palettes you can get. Just because it's camping, it doesn't have to be, green. It can be whatever, really. Whatever you feel that you like. And it's always good to build some color palettes, test some different ones. Don't just stick with the basic colors, because then your designs won't look as engaging and they'll look too bland. So you want to make sure you're using an interesting color palette. So just going to finish up doing this last color, and then add that, click global, and then so we've got our color palettes there. And we can also just go on the side here. So if you want to just get the eyedropper out, we can just quickly, press I and then select it. So if I want to do this, I can just go like this and get them in. So we've got our color palette here, and we'll just jump right into it. I'm just gonna select these and copy it. So holding Alt and Shift, just gonna copy it down like that. And I'm gonna select it. And when you select all the objects, or I'm gonna click it off, and I'm gonna show you a trick. You can go to the layers panel. If you click on the very right, you can see it selects everything in that layer. I'm just gonna lock these ones and select these ones. You can also just click and drag and select them, and then drag this to the layer above. So now you can see these are on the bottom red layer, and this is on the green layer, which you can see the color here. So that's sweet. We're gonna lock this layer here, so these are locked, and we're just gonna start building these out. So you can always leave the icon live. If you like to play around with the strokes, you can leave it, or you can just select them or go to Object and Expand. If you expand it, it's gonna make it into a shape. You can see that they're just shapes now, and you can just go to Pathfinder and unite them all. And that's one way to do it. If you don't want to edit your icon and you just want to use it like that, which is pretty handy. Or you can leave it live in case you want to edit some parts of it. Like maybe you don't like this shape, you can delete it and just build behind it. So one cool way is we can just like lock these tent. Locking the objects, you can just select it and go to Object and Lock, or Command 2 or Control 2. So we're going to start building out these color palettes. I'm going to press P for the pen tool. And you can see we can just start and just filling like that. And just place it behind the tent. And then once again, I can use the reflect tool and just copy that across like that. So this is one simple way to build these out. And get some cool effects. So we're probably gonna make these really flat, but we'll do another version of making it with shadows. I kind of don't like this lantern, it's looking a bit funny. So I might actually go Pathfinder and so now I can move on to the lantern, and we're just going to use simple colors. So you can see if you want to do it separately, you can do it like that, build the color separately, because then you can go in here and change it the way you want it. Or you can actually just select the box and change the colors or change the fill. So that's one way to do it. It just depends how you want to do it, because some things are just strokes, not all things are the shapes. So if you select it, the color might not appear properly. So we'll just go select the shapes, and you can see how I'm just filling these up. Bring it to the back. And you can always just edit the strokes just like that. So you can see how this is going to be. You can press Ctrl J, that's going to join the stroke because you can see how it was empty before. So that's why it's great to work with shapes, because it's faster to color than doing it this way. So you want to make sure you try and keep it consistent. So yeah, see, we've got these icons colored. So what we're going to do now is start adding some shading and a bit of lighting to our icons just to give it some more depth and make it stand out. So what we're going to do is just grab all these icons here and we're going to make a copy holding Shift and Option. I'm just going to drag this down just like that. And what I'm going to do is make a few new layers. So I've got 2 new layers here already made up. One says stroke, one says shading. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these strokes on the top layer, and then we're going to add our shading on this layer here so it doesn't conflict. So as I showed you before, we don't want the colors to go over our stroke. We want our stroke to be on the top and just, you know, have the effects on the actual color. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select these 4 icons and I'm going to press Ctrl C, Ctrl F. It's going to make a copy and paste it on top. As you can see there, it's just made a copy like that. And what I'm going to do to this is go to my left panel here and click this button here, or you can press / and it's going to get rid of the fill. So now if I drag this out, you can see it's only the stroke. So what I'm going to do is go to my layers panel on the right here. You'll see there's this little button next to this circle here, and it's like a little square with a color. We're going to drag this color, which means all this is selected, everything in the layer that is selected that we picked, and we're going to drag it up, click and drag to the stroke layer. So now you can see if I move this, it's just our strokes on this layer. So we can turn that on and off. So we're going to leave that there. And I'm going to lock that stroke layer. And then I'm going to go to my color layer again where we have our fill. And I'm going to turn off the stroke on this side. So you can see you can press the button or / and I've gotten rid of the stroke here. Now we just got all the fills and that is under the stroke. So we have our stroke on top and our color layer with the fills, and now we're going to add our shading on this middle layer here. So you want to make sure that the stroke's on top and the shading is in the middle so we don't conflict. So now what we're going to do is going to go on our shading layer, click that, and what I'm going to do is start adding some shading. So I'm going to press P for the pen tool. It's also located on the left here as well as we were using before, and I'm going to click and start just adding some shapes, and make sure your guides are on. And then what I want to do is go to my transparency panel. You can go to window transparency to open that, and you can see here I have this shape here, and I'm just going to press I for the eyedropper and just select this color here, and I'm going to go to multiply. You can even do this dark color here and do multiply for that. So I'll just leave that on multiply, and you can see it's added a bit of a shadow. And what I'd like to do is hold Option and Shift, or Alt and Shift, drag this across. And I'm going to go to my transform panel on the left here, click the menu, and you can see you can flip horizontal, flip vertical. We're going to flip horizontal. And what it's done, it's actually flipped that shape. So now we have the exact same shape on this left side as on the right side. So we've added a bit of shading there. And I'm going to do the same up here. So you can see we're just gonna click and connect the shape. And then once again, we're gonna go to multiply. Make sure we select this color, multiply. I'm gonna copy it and go back to transform and flip horizontal. And then we're gonna drag it into place and make sure it snaps into place. So you can see we've already added a bit of shading and it's already taken effect and being really cool. So that's awesome. And we'll go ahead and add some shading on the next one, but we'll add a bit of lighting as well. So we're going to do the same thing, but instead of doing multiply, we're actually going to add like use screen or color dodge. Works really well as well. So I'm just going to click again using the stroke as a guide. And then I'm going to just drag this. And the reason why I see how it's the strokes are on top, you can actually draw behind it and it's not going to affect it, which is awesome. So see color dodge or screen, color dodge is pretty cool. But you can see that it's mixing with this one here, so I'm going to have to drag that down a bit. And then copy it again. So we've added a bit of lighting there. We're not going to add lighting down here because this is the inside of the tent. So this is the outside and this is the inside. So there's not going to be really much lighting unless you have like a lamp or candle or something in there, but that's cool. So you can see it's added a bit of depth. It's pretty cool. And then same thing for the lantern. We'll go through, just using the eyedropper tool. Make sure you're on the right layer. And we'll go multiply. And you can see just copying, pasting squares, and then I'm just holding Alt and dragging the box out from the side, and it's going to keep it constrained. And then at the top here we'll add some. So this is how I usually do my icons, especially if I'm doing icons that have heavy strokes. Sometimes it will just be like fills and stuff. So it all depends on the style of icon you're really doing. I'm just gonna get these two and then minus this out with a shape builder tool, just so it's not interfering there. And I might even color this. Actually, I'll make it red. Add a bit of color there. And then even might add a bit of. So we're imagining the light's coming straight down. So it's coming down this way. And then we'll add, so usually there's like a reflection, and we'll add some. So, so you can be pretty messy on the behind part. Doesn't have to be too clean, because you won't see it anyway. And you can add point to the pen tool. Just go with that. Press in for the marquee tool, and I'm just dragging a box there. And then eyedropper by pressing I, and then just doing that. Sweet, so I've got some lighting, got a bit of shading here. It's looking good. So you can see it looks flat here. And you can see the difference. It actually makes a bit of difference. So we're gonna add it here behind the pillow. So you gotta imagine, like, be realistic with your icons. Like, is there things behind or in front? Is there like areas where there would be more light? So you can see here, obviously this bag wouldn't have much light because it's behind, it's under. And we're gonna focus on this bit here. I'm gonna make it look like there's like seams in the bag by adding these shadows. So just by quickly like adding shapes, you can get a lot out of it. And there's so many different styles of icons, you know, like so many different colors and styles. That's you always want to research before you actually create the icons to see, you know, what your client wants or what the brief is if you're doing a specific project for someone. And then once again, we'll add some shading here. So click. I'm just holding shift there to get straight lines. And then once again, I'm just gonna go over here and copy this color here. And if it's too much, you can actually drop the opacity. If you're on the transparency panel, you've got an opacity bar here. You can actually go in there and drop that percentage if you feel like it's too much. If you want a more subtle feel to it. And then Control D and that will copy it. Create a duplicate. So you want to make sure it's consistent. Make sure it's the same size and stuff like that. Sweet, looks good. Oh, we'll add a bit of shading up here too. Awesome, awesome. That's really great. So now we're onto our backpack now. You can see how it sticks out here. A quick trick is you can hold shift with the direct selection tool and click on the points. And you'll see this little round corner. If you're in CC, you'll get this little point and you can drag it in. It's going to round that off like that. So you can see how we both ran off those two sides, which is pretty neat. And then I'm just going to get this multiply color here. I'm going to go through under the stroke and create these shadows, and then I can just copy it across. You know, so to get all this extra detail, you don't have to, you know, stress. You just put a bit of extra time into it, you can create some cool stuff. Yeah, that's looking alright. And I'm going to add a bit of shading. I can copy this, go back to transform, flip vertical like we did before. Then once again, do color dodge there. We can even add some light on this. And make sure you eyedrop the yellow. It's not going to look right. Screen looks nice there. Copy that across. Make sure we put it on color dodge. That looks a bit white, but that's fine. We might actually get rid of this shading because this is like the buckle. Let's get rid of that buckle. And we'll add this shadow here because that's behind. Make sure we copy this light green. Multiply. Alright, beautiful. I can even add a bit of shading here. And just round these bottom corners off like we did before. To add a bit of shading under that that buckle or the zipper. Awesome. So yeah, now you can see we've added a bit of depth. You can see the difference from flat and then some shading there. So it just adds that little bit of fire, that little bit of flavor to it, and it looks awesome. Just by using multiply, transparency, multiply, and color dodge, and just by using the colors that we use there, that were already there, and just applying these simple techniques, you can create some nice icons. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you how to recolor them, because sometimes you want your colors or your icons to show in a different visual manner. So it's good to create a different color. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make a new layer, just call it red, and I think I'll have some, we're going to use this color palette here that I made beforehand. I'm going to select these icons again, but make sure the layers are unlocked. Make sure you select all of it, select it all, hold Alt and Shift and drag this down. So we've made a copy there now, and now what we're going to do is we're going to select all these, go to color guide, and click this little color wheel on the bottom on the right here. We want to click that, and you can see we've got this box that pops up. So you can see now the colors have gone off funky. You want to make sure you tick recolor art on the bottom left here. And now we're going to use this color group on the right here. So you can see we use this original color group, but we're going to use this red and brown one. And what you can actually do is, you see you've got these 4 rows. So what it does is substitutes the color that we previously used with the new color that we just selected on this color group. And we can press this button on the left, on the right. And if you keep clicking it, it'll do different variations and switch them around, which is so cool. You can get some cool effects and different styles and colors. Or you can just drag the colors where you want. You can see I'm just dragging this color. I want this brown to be on the stroke like that, but I want it to be a bit darker. So you can actually go down here and edit that color and make it darker, as you can see there. It might not show up properly, so you'll have to click recolor and recolor again, and it will work. So that looks pretty nice, and you can play around with this if you want it to look red. Like that. That looks pretty sweet. So what we can do now is press OK. And then we don't want to save these new changes to the color, so we're just going to press no. But now you can see it's actually changed the colors, and we have a new icon set, or a new set of different styles. And you can call this red icons or fire icons, or summer set or whatever you want. So you can really get some cool looks in different variations when you just play around with that color tool. And all it is just going to color guide and playing with the color wheel, and you can get some nice looking icons. So what we're going to do now is we're going to present our icons similar to like this, what we've done here, and we're going to make it look nice. So if you're going to present it or sell it as a product, it's going to be awesome, and people are going to want to check it out. So what we're going to do here is just create a new artboard. So I'm going to click this artboard tool, and I'm going to drag an artboard out like this, and we'll just make it whatever size you want. We'll go 1920 by 1080p. So it gives us a nice landscape type of look. And what I'm going to do, press M for the marquee tool, and I'm going to drag out a box, and I might actually make a new layer. Well, actually, we'll delete this layer, this red layer here, and we'll just make it presentation. Call it presentation for now. So what we're going to do, because they're camping icons and they're in the woods, we're going to use our normal color palette here. I might make this a little bit darker, so I'm going to go to window and go to color, and select this little drop down menu on the right, and we want to change it to CMYK so we get some more options. We can edit the color here. I'm going to make this darker, maybe 60%, and we're going to leave that there. I'm going to lock this background by pressing Control or Command 2. So that's locked, and now we can't select it. We're going to press T for the type tool, and we're going to start typing out a title. So you can call it whatever. You can call it Wild Camping Icons, and we'll make it white for now, and just use some free typefaces. We can go Carousella. This one's a free one, or you can just do a sans serif, whatever you feel. So we got that, and then what I'm gonna do, just sans serif. So we'll go maybe, no, I won't go Bevis. We'll just go Open Sans. We'll make it light. And I prefer to have this type. If you go to type and change case, you can change it to uppercase. Just make sure you select the right thing, and we can make it uppercase. So we can make it look like that. Make this a bit more bold actually. And I'm gonna, you can call it whatever, 12 times vector icons. And what I like to do, I like to select these green colors and play around with them. And you can play around with these blending modes once again like we did before. So we got color dodge. You can get some cool looks. I just selected the background color. And we want this to be less significant. We want this type up here to be the focus. And I'm just gonna make sure this is centered. You can click on a line to artboard up here and then just click the middle button. And that should center that. And we're going to copy these icons. I'm going to bring this presentation down a few layers just so we get these icons the way we want it. I'm going to group these together by pressing Ctrl G, make it slightly bigger by holding Shift and Alt and dragging the corner out. And then up the top here, you got the align tools, click the middle and center it. And obviously if you have, you know, a lot more icons, you can lay it out nicely. And just pretend we have a lot more icons. You can have it like that. I'll just keep one row for now. Actually, we'll use the green color ones. And then we can make sure it's all grouped together. Align that. Okay, so we got the green icons and we got the red ones, which is looking nice. I'm gonna select this type and hold Alt and press right arrow key and drag that out. Make it a bit smaller. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a banner down the bottom. And once again, we're gonna go to multiply. So that looks pretty nice. And I'm gonna lock that. I'm gonna move this out of the way. And I'm gonna create another typeface. Actually, I'm just gonna copy this one here. And we'll make it white. Bring that to the front. We'll use this off-white here. And what we can do is, and you can type out your name. Here, designed by Mura, which looks pretty sweet. And then we want to hold Alt, copy this type down here, and I'm just gonna name it. You know what? You want to give people a bit of information, so like what type of file it is, because if you're giving a freebie, then maybe they want to know if they can download or not. Because some people might not have Illustrator, so you can do Illustrator AI, PNG, or PSD. Yeah, whatever you feel like. And then I'm just gonna leave it like that. You can see I've got a bit of hierarchy. I might center this a bit more, make it a little bit bigger. I'll move this up. Yeah, and that's looking pretty sweet. We might add a bit of texture as well. So I'm gonna go to my texture pack. Just gonna open that up. Back the textures, and then I'm gonna use a TIFF. So what do we have here? We might have. We'll use this wood one here. And the cool thing about TIFFs is that, you know, you have control and you can also change the color. So I can actually select this brown or this green here really easily, and I can actually scale it really high, and it retains all its details. You can see it's a bitmap, so it keeps all those fine details there, which is awesome. So I love using TIFFs, and you can get some of these textures on Creative Market as well. And then I'm gonna play around with the blending modes again and see if we can find something cool. Lighten, color dodge, overlay. Overlay's not too bad. We'll drop that to about, we'll go 50%. So you can see the difference there. It adds just that bit of vibe. And we can even bring this up the top if you wanted to go over the icons. Or just leave it under the icons, that's okay. Yeah, and then we can save these out. We can go file, export, and save for web, and then save that out as your, you know, image for, you know, a product or on your portfolio or anything like that, and you can use it. And then yeah, then you just go select JPEG or PNG. JPEG's fine, and then just go save it. That's how you present your icons nicely in a cover type of a manner. It's gonna, you know, be effective and look really nice.